Let me hit you with something real from the jump. A lot of the stuff people casually do every day, like smoking, drinking too much alcohol, sitting around all day, and living on ultra-processed foods loaded with additives and preservatives, can quietly set the stage for serious disease in the body. And one of the biggest things it does is crank up inflammation. That matters a lot because chronic inflammation is like rolling out the red carpet for all kinds of cancers, including colorectal cancer. But that is only part of the story. Those same habits can also suppress your immune system. And that right there is a huge problem. Because if your immune system is weakened, you are compromising one of the most important defense systems your body has against cancer. Now, I wrote about this in my book, Eat to Beat Disease. You may have seen it already, and if not, it is not really a book about disease at all. It is a book about health. But it goes deep into what you can do to lower your risk of cancer, including colorectal cancer, by strengthening the body's own natural defenses. And honestly, there have been some exciting new developments that I think are incredibly important. One of the biggest is immunotherapy. So what is immunotherapy? Well, immunotherapy is not chemotherapy. It is a treatment that actually wakes up your own immune system and gets it to go after the cancer. In other words, instead of only attacking cancer from the outside, it activates one of your body's own internal defense systems and tells it, all right, time to get to work. In Eat to Beat Disease, I talk about your body's 5 health defense systems. You have angiogenesis, your stem cells, your gut microbiome, your DNA protection, and your immune system. And your immune system is basically an army of elite soldiers patrolling your body at all times, scanning for trouble. Think of them like cops on the beat, cruising through the neighborhood, checking every corner, making sure nothing suspicious is going on. And if they spot a problem, they do not just stand there and admire it. They move in, they take action, and they deal with it. That problem could be a microscopic cancer before it ever gets the chance to become dangerous. That is one of the key jobs of your immune system. It is responsible for spotting and wiping out tiny microscopic cancers long before those cells can grow enough blood vessels to become a real threat. And let me tell you, the blood supply issue is a massive deal. I was trained in a lab that studied blood vessels and tumors, and what we found was fascinating. If you prevent blood vessels from reaching a tumor, which is something your body naturally tries to do, that tumor cannot keep growing. It may only get to around 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter, which is roughly the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen. That is about as far as it can go. Why? Because it cannot get enough oxygen. It does not have blood vessels feeding it. It does not get nutrients. And just like anything living, if it cannot get air and food, it cannot grow. So the cancer just sits there, tiny and trapped, like a microscopic pinhead-sized tumor, while your body keeps it under control through a natural anti-angiogenic process. That is part of the body's own strategy. And then your immune system comes in and patrols the area, spots those abnormal cells, and takes them out before they become a serious issue. That is how the body is supposed to handle it. Now, if a cancer has already grown, doctors can use medications that cut off the blood supply to the tumor. One of those drugs is called bevacizumab, also known as Avastin. It works by blocking the blood vessels that feed the cancer, and it is approved for colorectal cancer. It also works in certain cases for brain tumors, ovarian cancer, cervical cancers, lung cancers, and several other cancers. Its whole benefit comes from cutting off the blood supply. What we learned in the lab is simple but powerful. If you cut off the blood supply to a tumor, it cannot grow. Research studies have shown that if you prevent blood vessels from ever reaching a tumor in the first place, the tumor stays stuck. But if you allow blood vessels to reach it and begin feeding that tiny microscopic cancer, then boom, the thing can explode in size. In one experiment, it grew 16,000 times larger in just 2 weeks. That is what uncontrolled angiogenesis looks like. Blood vessels gone wild. You may have heard the phrase, girls gone wild. Well, this is blood vessels gone wild, feeding a cancer and helping it take off fast. That is why anti-angiogenic treatments have become such an important foundation in treating colorectal cancer and other cancers too. They are a major part of modern cancer care. Now let's go back to immunotherapy because this is the other knockout punch your body has naturally. When immunotherapy works, it supercharges your immune system. It is like going from having just 2 cops in one patrol car to having the entire police force deployed across the city. Now you are not just getting a little help. You are bringing out a full-force army to search, identify, and take down the bad guys, meaning the cancer cells. And that is why immunotherapy has become such a transformative revolution in oncology. It is changing the way cancer is treated because it works with the body's own natural power. It helps your own immune system wipe out cancer. That is something we used to only dream about. Instead of just trying to fight the disease from outside the body, you are raising the body's own shields and letting your internal defense system do what it was designed to do. And here is the part that gets really exciting. We have actually been able to see that when immunotherapy works at its best, people with stage 3 and even stage 4 cancer, which is often seen as end-stage, no-win territory, can sometimes respond dramatically. I am not saying this happens for everyone yet because it does not. There is still a lot of work to do. We need more research to figure out how to make more people respond. But we are beginning to understand that if you give immunotherapy to the right person, at the right time, and their cancer is the kind that responds, the results can be incredible. There are plenty of people on social media now sharing their immunotherapy stories. One of the biggest categories of immunotherapy drugs is called checkpoint inhibitors. You may have heard of some of them in commercials, like Keytruda. The actual drug name is pembrolizumab. These checkpoint inhibitors work by pulling the cloak off the cancer so the immune system can finally see it. The cancer has been hiding from your immune system, and now the disguise gets ripped away. Once that happens, your immune system can go after it. For immunotherapy to work, especially checkpoint inhibitors, doctors look for certain markers. One of the things they check is the tumor biopsy. They send it away and examine it for signs that the patient is likely to benefit from immunotherapy. One of those signs is microsatellite instability, or MSI. If the tumor is highly unstable, that often means it is more susceptible to immunotherapy. Doctors also look for PD-1 and PDL-1 markers. The pathologist checks these after the biopsy or surgical specimen is analyzed. These are the kinds of questions you should ask if you have been diagnosed with cancer, especially colon cancer, but really for other cancers too. Ask your doctor whether your tumor has been sent for testing to see whether immunotherapy might work for you. If they are looking at checkpoint inhibitor eligibility, you want to know whether the tumor shows MSI-H, meaning microsatellite instability high. You also want to know whether there are markers suggesting that the cancer is cloaking itself, such as PD-1 and PDL-1 related signals. Those are some of the signs that your cancer may be immunotherapy responsive. Now let's talk about your gut microbiome, because this is another huge piece of the puzzle. We already started talking about it, but it deserves its own spotlight. Healthy bacteria in your gut lower inflammation, improve metabolism, and even affect mood through the gut-brain axis. A healthy gut microbiome supports a better overall state of health and may reduce the risk of many different diseases, including cancer. We think that abnormal gut flora, unhealthy bacteria patterns, what we call dysbiosis, could be one of the hidden contributors to cancer that has been sitting right in front of us all these years. That is why researchers are now paying so much attention to it. So what foods actually help your gut microbiome? First, think polyphenols. These are found in colorful plant foods. Go to the produce section of the grocery store or the farmer's market and look at all those bright colors. Bell peppers, berries, leafy greens of every kind, all those vibrant foods are packed with polyphenols. Those compounds are fantastic for helping healthy bacteria grow. But dietary fiber is especially important. In fact, one study showed that for every 5 to 6 grams of dietary fiber, which is about what you would get from a medium-sized pear, melanoma patients receiving immunotherapy had a 30% reduction in mortality. That is serious. Whole plant-based foods like fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, herbs, and spices are loaded with the polyphenols that feed your gut microbiome. Healthy gut bacteria then help lower inflammation, and they also support the immune system. It all connects. At the same time, there are lifestyle shifts that matter a lot. You can reduce or eliminate processed meats, you can avoid excess alcohol, do not smoke, cut down on drinking, stay physically active, reduce stress. Stress may be one of the factors that contributes to cancer development too. It is a lot. I know, life throws plenty at us, and nobody can control everything. But food is one thing we deal with every single day, 3 times a day, and that gives us a real opportunity. That is why I always say there is a way to eat more dietary fiber, more polyphenols, and more of the good stuff that supports the body. And by the way, coffee and tea also appear to lower the risk of certain cancers, including colorectal cancer. Green tea contains polyphenols called catechins, which are powerful compounds that can help cut off the blood supply to cancer. I talk about this in my book, Eat to Beat Disease, and if you have not read it, I would honestly recommend it. It is packed with cancer-fighting, cancer-starving foods and practical ideas. Coffee also contains chlorogenic acid, which lowers inflammation and may also help starve cancer. There are specific vegetables that have cancer-starving properties too. Brassica vegetables are a great example. We are talking broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, arugula, and others in that family. They contain isothiocyanates, including sulforaphane, which are natural chemicals that can help cut off the blood supply feeding cancer and also reduce inflammation. Beans and legumes are another big one. White beans, black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, soybeans, edamame, all of those are rich in dietary fiber. And then there is olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil. It contains polyphenols like hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal. These compounds lower inflammation and also have cancer-starving properties. Omega-3s matter too. Seafood that contains healthy omega-3 fatty acids can help. A lot of people used to think only salmon had the good stuff, or maybe fish lower on the food chain like anchovies and sardines or mackerel. But actually, even cod and halibut, and even shrimp and shellfish like mussels and clams, also provide healthy omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids can help cut off the blood supply to cancers, meaning they are anti-angiogenic and they lower inflammation too. All of this can contribute to lowering the risk of developing cancers, including colorectal cancer. These are little details, but they matter. They are the kind of things you can do with food that may even help the cutting-edge cancer drugs work better. And that is the whole point. It is not food versus medicine. It is food and medicine. I am a huge believer that the right medicine for the right person at the right time can be life-saving and absolutely essential. The medical community needs those tools, no question. But what patients do for themselves when they are not in the doctor's office, what they choose at home while they are looking in the pantry, standing at the stove, or checking the fridge, that can be just as vital. That is how you help strengthen the body's health defenses so your own system can amplify whatever the drugs are designed to do. And immunotherapy, especially checkpoint inhibitor therapy, often comes as an infusion. People may get it every 3 weeks or so. Sometimes it is given by itself, and sometimes it is combined with chemotherapy. In some cases, doctors even double up the immunotherapy. Researchers are still working out the best ways to do this in the most effective manner. We still do not know how to make it work for everyone, and that remains one of the major challenges in cancer research today. But we are learning more and more. One clue is that you need a healthy gut microbiome. Remember, your gut microbiome includes around 39 trillion bacteria living in your gut, especially in your colon and in the cecum, that pouch in the colon. These microbes do a lot of good things for us. They lower inflammation, which is incredibly important. They improve metabolism. They connect the gut and the brain. They can even help you feel better emotionally. But here's the interesting part. A research study done in 2017 looked at cancer patients receiving immunotherapy, specifically checkpoint inhibitors. The researchers noticed something important. Some people responded really well. Their immune systems got activated and knocked out the cancer. Others did not respond so well. They were called non-responders. At first, nobody fully understood why this difference existed. Then researchers at the Institut Gustave Roussy, including my colleague Dr. Laurence Zitvogel, looked closely at the differences between responders and non-responders. And you know what she found? Bacteria. That was the difference. Not genetics, not lifestyle alone, bacteria. One bacterium in particular stood out, Akkermansia mucinifila. In that study, which was published in the journal Science, patients who had Akkermansia were more likely to respond to immunotherapy. That is huge. A single bacterium can make the difference between responding and not responding. That was one of those jaw-dropping discoveries because it showed just how powerful gut bacteria really might be. Back in 2017, there were not really any probiotics you could just take to solve the problem. So the research team, including Dr. Zitvogel, took Akkermansia from patients who had responded and transplanted it in the lab into animals that did not have Akkermansia and were not responding to immunotherapy. And guess what happened? Once the human Akkermansia was transplanted into the animals started to respond to immunotherapy. That is strong evidence that this bacterium matters. Now the big question is, how do you grow Akkermansia naturally? It is a healthy gut bacterium, and certain foods seem to support it. We know that foods containing allagitannins can help, such as pomegranate, dried cranberry, and Concord grape juice. Other bioactive compounds are being discovered too. Oats and oatmeal can help grow Akkermansia. Whole grains can as well. Chili peppers, including the dried chili flakes you sprinkle on pizza, have been found to stimulate its growth. Chinese black vinegar, the kind often served with soup dumplings, has also been shown to support Akkermansia. We do not yet have every answer about how to grow it perfectly, but the science is moving fast, and now you can even take a probiotic as well. So when you step back and look at the full picture, it all starts to make sense. Smoking, alcohol, inactivity, ultra-processed foods, chronic stress, poor gut health, and inflammation can all weaken the body's defenses. But on the other side, food, movement, fiber, polyphenols, omega-3s, healthy bacteria, and the right medical treatments can strengthen those defenses and help your body fight back. That is the big message here. Cancer is complicated, no doubt, but the body is not powerless. Your immune system is not just some background function quietly doing nothing. It is an active force. Your gut microbiome is not just extra baggage in the digestive tract. It is part of your defense network. Your diet is not just about calories, it is communication, it is fuel, it is strategy. That is why I keep coming back to this idea. Do not think of health in pieces. Think of it as a system. The blood supply matters, the immune system matters, the gut microbiome matters, inflammation matters, lifestyle matters. And food is one of the most powerful tools you have every single day to influence all of them. And that is why the combination of modern medicine and smart daily choices is so powerful. The medicine can target cancer directly. The food and lifestyle can make the terrain inside the body less friendly to cancer and more supportive of healing. That is not a small thing. That is a huge advantage. So if you are looking for a simple way to remember all of this, keep this in mind. Feed the good bacteria, lower inflammation, protect your immune system, avoid habits that feed cancer, and support your body's natural defense systems every day. That is how you help create a body that is less welcoming to disease and stronger against cancer. And honestly, that is the kind of shift that can change everything. Not overnight, not with magic, and not with one miracle food or one miracle drug. It is the combination. It is the whole picture. It is the food on your plate, the way you move, the way you live, and the medical tools science has given us. Put those together, and now you are not just reacting to disease. You are actively building defense. And that, my friend, is where the real power is.